Lately, the relationship between our creators and its players has taken a noticeable turn for the worse. And while the game has been a financial success, more than recouping its development costs and making the developers a ton of money, the player count has still been dropping. And if we're honest about it, one thing becomes pretty clear: the pace at which updates are being released simply isn't enough to retain the audience. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I have over 400 hours logged in Arc Creators, not counting my time in the server slam. I was waiting for this game and believed in it back when it was still announced as a PvE grind game in the style of Destiny, not an extraction shooter. I am the target audience of this game, and I personally lived through that moment when you realize that Arc Creators endgame has nothing left to offer you, nothing that could keep me hooked for 100 more hours. Against this backdrop, I, and probably many Arc Creators players who've put serious time into the game, had high hopes for the April update, specifically because, according to the roadmap, April was when the new location was supposed to arrive. And as you've likely already guessed, I'm talking about Riven Tides. The long-awaited April 28th finally comes around and yours truly loads into the map. Stepping onto the surface of Riven Tides for the first time, there is this feeling of a vast, uncharted territory. Every corner calling you to explore it, uncover its secrets, and fall back in love with this beautiful game. Its thick atmosphere, endlessly satisfying gameplay. My first thought was, I wonder if I can reach that building over there. I opened the map. Nope. I spawned at the edge of the map. I can't even go that direction. Well, okay, fine. I spawned right next to the spot where I needed to complete a mission, setting bird traps near some large buoys.
Go to that location.
I placed them and hear someone shooting at arcs not far away from my position. I slowly make my way towards the sound to figure out what's going on, and I can clearly hear someone rummaging through junk inside a nearby building. I carefully sneak up and try to communicate.
Hey Raider, are you friendly?
I'm friendly, buddy, I'm friendly.
For whatever reason, I got dropped into a don't shoot lobby even though I can't exactly be called a friendly raider. Maybe I just got lucky with this guy. But anyway, breathing a little easier, I went on to experience my first full raid on Riven Tides. Grabbed a bunch of useful stuff, fought some arcs.
Oh fuck. When are you gonna fucking die?
Made it back to Speranza.
Have a nice one, guys.
And since I was in a friendly lobby anyway, I went out and calmly tested the new mechanics and gadgets. One of them is the metal detector, which adds a fresh gameplay element. You go scanning for items buried in the sand, and it's actually pretty fun. Sometimes you dig up something valuable, sometimes it's just a box of ammo. It's all completely random, much like real life, honestly. And inside one of those boxes I found another new gadget, an old world airbag that you can deploy for a soft landing. I climbed onto the top floor of the hotel, threw the airbag down, and just before it deployed, I jumped off the balcony and landed right on it. Unfortunately, it didn't fully protect me. Obviously, I didn't expect it to save me from the dam tower on the dam, but I did expect it to fully break my fall from the height I was at. Most likely, to get full protection from it, you need to jump from about one floor lower than where I was standing. And after just 2 matches, I'd already covered half of the map. I played the third and the fourth round, and that was it? That's the whole map. Those are all the locations available. We waited 6 months. We waited half a year for this. The map is smaller than Buried City, and Buried City was the second smallest map in the game, or rather, used to be. Honestly, I have a feeling that this map might be even smaller than Stella Montis. I haven't directly compared them, I do have a live, but Stella Montis feels bigger simply because of its multi-level layout. It takes many raids to fully explore it. Unlike this map, play this from 1 to 4 times and you've already seen everything it has to offer. This is ridiculous. This shouldn't be the case. The game is known for its rich, expensive locations packed with detail, verticality, and room to explore. And this location doesn't deliver any of that. I can't believe I waited all this time for this map. I can't believe that what we saw in the Riven Tides concept art ended up becoming what we actually got, and I genuinely can't believe some people, some content creators, are actually celebrating what shipped. Sure, there is a new arc, but what's actually special about it? What makes it unique? Beyond just being another massive enemy you have to take down. Whatever sense of novelty it brings wears off after the very first encounter. And the loot it drops is underwhelming. It's not even that impressive. You get less than you'd expect given how many resources it takes to bring it down. It's just not worth it. Obviously, I didn't bring you all here to read you patch notes. I want to talk about the bigger trend our creators has caught in right now. If you look at the online player charts leading up to April 28th's update, the trend is impossible to ignore. Over the course of 3 months, the player count dropped drastically, down a total of 80%. Back in January, the peak concurrent player count was 460,000. That's when our creators set a real precedent. The game launched with a peak of 260,000 players. A week later, it broke its own record with 480,000 players online at once. Just 2 weeks after that, an update dropped introducing the Stellamontis map and the Matriarch. And 2 weeks later, after that, came the Cold Snap update, a new weather condition, a raider deck, new project. That was a golden period for raiders. We were being fed well and we were honestly blown away by the volume of content being dropped on us. Then the Christmas holidays hit and everything went sideways. The whole team went on vacation, and after they came back, the content flow never recovered. Strange decisions started happening. They added a new map condition to Buried City while simultaneously removing the Cold Snap mechanic from all the maps, which ended up backfiring. Instead of feeling like they were getting new content, players felt like something was being taken away from them. The new Buried City condition was barely noticeable. After a wave of complaints, the devs eventually brought the Cold Snap back. February and March updates brought some new content, but it was nothing compared to the pace and energy the developers had set in the first month after launch. Ultimately, in January the player count dropped by around 20,000. In February, nearly 100,000. In March, another 123,000. And in April, it dropped again by roughly 100,000 players. That kind of decline is not a healthy sign. It points to players abandoning the game in large numbers, and the main reason, in my opinion, is the lack of content. On top of that, big streamers like Burnt Peanut stopped covering our creators almost entirely, largely due to the serious cheating problem at high ranks, and by high ranks I mean lobbies with expensive loadouts. The game doesn't actually have ranked mode. In recent interviews, Patrick Sutherland, I hope I pronounced his name right, mentioned that the studio is currently working on 2 new games alongside updates for our creators and the finals. He stated that for its price, the game already has more than enough content, and that it fully delivers the value to the consumer and justifies the current update cadence. In other words, Embark sees our creators as a finished product, one that has already paid off financially and generated millions of dollars for the company. I'm fairly confident that the roadmap they presented after launch was finalized long before the release, and never changed once the game became a massive hit. Instead of redirecting resources toward keeping audiences engaged with what could have been one of the biggest live service titles of the coming years, a game that genuinely brought something new to the industry, Embark changed, I'd venture to say, approximately 0% of their originally planned update schedule. Frankly, a new map of this scale should have been dropped back in February just to maintain the momentum the game had built. At the end of the day, the studio doesn't see a strong reason to keep pushing our creators forward at full speed. So all those players' dreams, a proper hub in Speranza where you can walk around, hang out with friends, play darts, I don't know, customize your hideout, watch your room and workshop evolve. We can probably let all those dreams go. Let's say Speranza will exist. The developers themselves and Patrick Söderlund have spoken about wanting to develop the potential of Speranza. They would like to see it as a functioning hub and said it's something achievable, but according to the devs themselves, it'll take more than a year to make it happen in a game, meaning in the best case scenario, we'll see Speranza a year and a half after the game's release. I want to be clear, this is my opinion, and you can share yours respectfully in the comments below. And honestly, this whole situation is really disappointing to me, because I love Arc Raiders. I have over 400 hours in this game and I genuinely love to put another 400. But for that to happen, the game needs content. It needs a reason to come back. It needs an end game. Because once you've killed the queen and the matriarch a few times, once you've taken down the new arc, which honestly isn't much of a challenge if you just assemble a full lobby and steamroll it, there's nothing left to do. Once you've had all those experiences, only one option remains. Head to Stellamontis and start a goddamn deathmatch. And that's essentially everything the game has to offer once you've put in serious hours. And the developers apparently aren't in any hurry to change that. A small update on what's currently happening with Arc Raiders while I'm recording this video. First of all, data miners found a mention of P2P trading in Speranza. It actually sounds cool. I don't know how it's going to work though. The value of resources in the game is actually very low, and you can really count on the fingers of both hands the number of resources that truly have value. So the question arises, will there be a fixed price range for each item provided by Embark, or will players be able to set up prices for certain items themselves, meaning the market itself will be given the opportunity to decide the value of one item or another? That's point one. Second thing is the new map. The developers themselves previously said that they are working on new maps. Now a new map called Frozen Trails has been mentioned. We don't know how big it'll be, but let's assume it will be large scale. The developers themselves previously said that they are working on maps that are larger in scale than the ones we currently have in the game. Sounds great, but let's go back to Riven Tides and try to analyze the situation based on the existing data points. Riven Tides is a map roughly the size of Buried City, maybe smaller. The level of detail on this map is about half of what Buried City has. They worked on this map for around 5 months, and that's looking at it optimistically. I'm once again fairly confident that this map was already planned and in development before the game even launched. But let's assume they spent 5 months working on this map. How long will it take them to create a map that's bigger than the dam? Bigger than Spaceport or Blue Gate? They'll surely need more than half a year to make a single map. So the frequency at which large-scale updates drop is not going to change. Despite all the recent positive news that we got, my complaint remains the same. There is not enough content. I hope I made my point clear. To wrap things up, I still stand by my belief that Arc Raiders is the best multiplayer game of last year and one of the freshest experience the arcade shooter genre has produced in years. It's also one of the rare, genuinely worthwhile third-person shooters, which is increasingly hard to come by. And Embark now faces a fascinating crossroads. Will a studio of 250 people take the risk and scale up to keep the pace with active updates across their games while building 2 new ones simultaneously, or will they play it safe, stay the same size, and potentially let their most successful title die a slow and painful death? Let me know what you think in the comments, drop a like, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.